Hi Trish, hope you're doing well. I wanted to make a video for you for this assignment. I felt that it was just better to send it to you instead of just writing it. The reason for that is because I've written a poem for this assignment, and I know that whenever I have the opportunity, if I'd rather hear the poet actually presenting their piece as opposed to just reading it, I would obviously much rather listen to the poet actually, present their piece in person or watch it on a video. So originally I had spoken to you about doing a piece from the perspective of a Children's Aid Society worker and what would be going through the worker's head as they sat on the couch of the client, in the client's home. And I was really thinking about how I already know what that's like to be a protection worker, to go into somebody's house. I know what I thought about, and I felt like that was fairly straightforward for me and fairly simple to write something. And so I really wanted to challenge myself to put myself in the shoes of the client and what may be going through a client's head before we come and while we're actually there doing our investigation or doing a home visit. So the poem that I've written is called Who Do You Think You Are? There is a curse word in it, but I felt that it was fitting considering just the context of the poem. And so it goes like this, and again, it's called Who Do You Think You Are? I wait for your arrival. I frantically pace. I forgot to scrub the pot. Maybe it'll be easier for you to make your case. Shit, you're almost here. Who called CAS on me? Familiar voices speaking in my ear. I've never hated the sound of someone at the door more than now. Sure, don't take off your shoes. You already think my place is dirty. Is my own life dirty? Who will save me? The new Democratic Party? Can I offer you a drink? Never mind. I have nothing to offer you. Is that your shiny SUV outside my window? Public transportation for this zero. I want to throw up. If I'm honest, your questions make me sick. You want to know my strengths? Perhaps I'll just keep you at arm's length. What are you writing on your legal pad? Did you read in my file that I was once described as a nomad? Can I have a copy of that? Are you writing that you think that I'm a pack rat? You need to speak to my children alone. Why are you always making calls on your cellular phone? I bet your home is perfect. I bet your life is just grand. Get the hell out of my apartment. Who do you think you are? So, I wanted to firstly describe three major areas of learning as I presented this piece and as I was thinking about it, and what I really thought and what I like to do at the end of a semester is I like to go back and I like to look at the course objectives and the learning outcomes. And then I wanted to take three from your syllabus and reflect on that. So the first one that I picked from the syllabus was that the goal should be to have a deeper understanding of human diversity, oppression, and social injustice. So on the level of understanding human diversity, I've mentioned in class that I've had a lot of opportunity to talk about or work with many different families. So I'm able to work with refugee families. I've had the opportunity to work with Indigenous families. I've had the opportunity to work with single moms, to work with single dads, to work with, grandparents, a variety of guardians, and to be able to sit with them and to really hear their stories of oppression, and to be able to see the social injustice that has happened in their lives and is currently happening. I feel like for me, I've really been able to, again, experience that in my field placement and bring it back to the class and be able to participate in conversations, regarding the things that you've brought up. And so that's been really helpful. And I really feel like that goal for me was really like a huge part of my learning and my class experience. The second one was identifying and defining issues relevant to the marginalized and oppressed populations. So one of the things this year that has been really big for me is to begin thinking about the model that the Children's Aid Society currently works under and the issues that surround that model, because everything obviously is built on that model. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about what I've learned about that model, and basically how like it creates marginalization and it oppresses people, and perhaps another model that could be used. So firstly, as I just said, child protection systems can be divided into two different models. So this is the legalistic child protection model. This is what's used in Canada. And you have another model, which is also known as the therapeutic family service model. So the legalistic child model that's used in Canada, this model focuses on individuals and their responsibilities. So this model assumes that the abuse and the neglect that the child experience ultimately rests on the parents or the caregivers of the child. And I really feel that this current Canadian model should be replaced with the therapeutic family service model. So this model views problems and understands them to be socially constructed, and it's really solved using collective intervention. So child abuse and neglect are often a result of social and economic problems that often create stress in family lives. So, one of the things that my supervisor has said that 95% of our cases often are due to a result of poverty. This is a social problem, and it's not solely responsible, obviously, on the family. And so in Ontario, the child protection policies and intervention there created around investigative and policies that they use. I said this in class a couple of weeks ago. It's known as the Ontario Risk Assessment Model, and social intervention using this risk assessment. Basically, you're asking the question, is the child in need of protection? And then you have the defining features of the case. And so the best interests of the child are often, in this model, are met by policing the parents who have not met the child's needs, and can sometimes, result in placing the child in long-term care, which is often, unfortunately, the case in a lot of Indigenous families that we work with. And nations such as Sweden that use the therapeutic family service model, they have less procedures in Canada than, for their workers. And so this allows them to respond faster. It allows them to respond faster to, meeting the needs of the child and asking, how is the child, rather than having to follow a procedure such as the model we have in Canada that asks, do we have a case here? So one of the other questions for the reflection was reflecting critically on one's own identity, personality, attitudes, and beliefs. So, as you know, a huge part of this program is continuing to reflect on your own, my own social location, and really seeing, how certain things, how certain systemic issues oppress families. And I remember I was in the vehicle, I was driving a mother and her children to an appointment, and I remember I took out a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses and I put them on, and as soon as I put them on, the children in the back seat were like, wow, that's, those are such nice sunglasses. And I remember the mom looked over and said, wow, like those look really expensive. And I think in that moment, I just realized how important it is to, present myself to people and making sure that I'm not continually oppressing others, especially the people that I work with. Excuse me. So, just things like that. I think it's really important to, just as like a doctor in their practice would continue, reading on recent journal articles about what's the best, way to, work with patients, or, the best way to prescribe certain things. I think it's important for, if I remain in this field, and I think really any sort of social work that I go into, just to not only obviously be aware again of my social location, but just to continue to be just well informed of what's the best approach to working with people to, again, reduce, any sort of oppression that I may be causing as a social worker. The other question was, in what ways does your creation help you become more reflective as you complete this course and continue your professional practice? Again, like I said earlier before, it was easier for me to reflect on myself as the worker, because I know what it's like to go into someone's home and to be thinking about, what's going through my own mind, but to really put myself into a client's shoes, somebody that's being investigated because they've been called, somebody's called on the family about an issue, and to have somebody in your home. I don't know what that's like, because I've never had anybody come into my home and ask me 1,000 questions and, analyze, is my child in need of protection? Is there a possibility that my child is going to be taken away? I don't know what that's like. And so to be able to really, really think about perhaps what could hypothetically be going through one of my clients' minds is really important. And I really felt like it was such a powerful and very emotional, assignment for me, which only leads me to imagine what it would be like to have somebody in your home. And it just really, I felt, created just a new level of empathy. So it was really good, and I really enjoyed this assignment. I've really enjoyed your class, and I'm just looking forward to continuing next semester to, reflect on my own social location and to be even more aware of, systemic issues and how to work with families in a way that, honors them the best way that we can within the system and the model that we're working within. So anyways, I hope this wasn't too long-winded. I hope it's not too long. It's been really great. Thank you so much again. And if I don't see you next semester, then I wish you all the best. And I hope you have a nice, hopefully, little holiday over the weekend. All right, Trish, thank you so much, and take care.